Hi guys, welcome back to Red Flag Radio F1 YouTube channel. As there's no race this weekend, we thought what better time to rewind the clock and talk about some of the biggest debates in Formula 1. Which drivers deserved more championships, who made the most of their chances, and who walked away with just the right number of titles. In this video, we are diving deep into the careers of some iconic F1 drivers, comparing the number of championships they actually won with how many they deserved based on performance, luck, and circumstances. So buckle up, because this one is full of hot takes, nostalgia, and straight up racing truths. Let's begin.
I think we should begin with the most prominent point of conversation in F1 since the past 5 years at least, Max Verstappen. Now, let's not mince our words. Let's right out the gate acknowledge, I do not think he should have won the 2021 championship based on rules. The important point here is based on rules. I'm not doubting his talent, but according to the rule book, he should not have won.
That's your take. I mean, we will talk about 2021. We know 2022, 2023, 2024 was pure dominance. 2022 at the start was not.
Also, 2024 was not pure dominance.
Okay, yeah.
It was impure
I
dominance.
like the way. Yes, the way he started that, helped him to get that dominant start and be ahead of the whole grid. And that's the reason why he became champion of 2024 as well. So,
Right.
yeah, I don't think dominant was the right word. So, probably let's just say he had that perfect start to
Fair
secure
enough.
that championship. Let's keep it that way. But yeah, 2022 and 2023 was pure dominance. And I don't
Yeah.
think anyone can
No
debate
doubt
on
there.
that.
At least 2023 for sure. Like that was his cleanest season ever. And
Absolutely.
probably it's that season was so record breaking for him. I think he set new standards for dominance, not just for
Absolutely.
driving, but his domination has new standards now.
What do you mean by that?
Previously, we'd seen that from Lewis, and
Yeah.
in some regard, even now. But
Absolutely. Like every weekend when we used to get up, we knew we will hear that Dutch national anthem. That was the standard he set. Yeah, miss those days, I guess. At least from my head.
be that as
It was
be that as it may, it was entertaining in a different way to watch the same guy win. I mean,
Yeah.
you can call it boring, but there is some kind of a fascination with someone just absolutely creaming the field as well.
What do you mean by
Not to be
smashing the
taken out
records
of
every time.
context. Yeah, but
Oh yeah.
but not the 2021 season, man. I think Toto Wolff put it best when he laid out the points of how, according to every single rule and bylaw in the FIA rule book, Hamilton wins. No matter
If
how
we-
you decide to dissect this, no matter how the cookie crumbles, the bottom line is that the safety car should have gone on for one more lap as per the rule book, and that gifts Hamilton his 8th untouchable record. And we'll get to him actually, he has quite a few of those, so I think it's as great as he is. I'm shocked at how he deals with depression on a daily basis, holding that same information. But we'll get there.
See, if we talk about 2021, I feel Abu Dhabi 2021 was the race Hamilton should have won.
Yeah.
That's, I think, most of the fans will agree on that race was, a race that Hamilton should have won on paper. As per the rules, safety car should have stayed for one more lap, and we saw all the mess they created with the lapped cars, and they just allowed those lapped cars to overtake that were in between Hamilton and Verstappen and not behind the cars that were, waiting behind Verstappen. So it created that chaos. It was messy, no doubt, but over the course of the season, I feel Max had more wins, more poles, more laps led, every record in his favor. Silverstone was the race, the turning point that, brought more chaos, and I felt like the Hamilton penalty for that race was very lenient, and that's the reason why I felt like probably Hamilton also had that chance to be fighting for that championship, and that was the reason why both drivers were on equal points. So over the course of the season, I felt like Verstappen was the better driver and probably he deserved that championship more than Hamilton. But that's just my
No,
take.
see, I completely agree with that. On talent, on tarmac, Max was faster and he was the deserving candidate. But the bottom line is that we have a rule book because every sport needs rules. And that rule book is there to enforce what a championship is supposed to be. So if you're not adhering to the rule book, you're basically spitting in the face of F1 and rules in general. But that being said, full credit to Michael Masi for creating a very entertaining finish to the season. I mean, I know he was shot at dawn later next day, but
Rules, consequences.
it's fine, man. He gave us entertainment. And as for
Netflix.
oh yeah, they milked that
Netflix
cow
paid
a lot.
him.
Yeah, definitely. Straight up the definition of a paid actor, right? But since you mentioned the Silverstone Grand Prix, you know what? Fair. Hamilton, for the lack of a better analogy, tried to commit domestic terrorism at his home race, and he should have been penalized for that. But the fact remains, it doesn't matter strictly on how fast you're on track, you also have to be fast on paper, and by that I mean the rules. So you can call me a nerd, whoever wants to comment and call me a nerd for being such a stickler for rules. What do you want from F1 then? Do you want them to place landmines on the track? Where does it end?
Yeah, as a whole, I feel like there was not a single race where we can say that FIA did a good job, and probably we say that even now for any races that happen. So it's just, I'll guess we both will have different takes, and the world is divided based on that 2021 season. So we can't say much on that.
We're still friends despite disagreeing on this so intensely. But yeah, man, it is what it is.
It's all fair.
Yeah,
it's all fair, I guess. But I guess it allows us to transition. Let's just say the number of titles which Verstappen had, I don't think there were more titles in place for him. It's like 4 or maybe 3.5. Let's just say that based on 2021 season. But this allows us to transition to the other driver who was, the other side of this coin, Lewis Hamilton. What do you think?
So the number of championships Max has right now, those are the number of championships Hamilton should have had as a surplus, if not for some very depressing ups. And
that's a bold call. So you're saying he's a 7-time world champion and he deserved 4 more titles.
Minimum.
Let's keep it.
Right off the top of our heads, once we list this down, okay, let's get into the thick of it then. So, according to our math, minimum 11 championships Lewis should have had. So, first 2007, where he was winning and he should have won, but he sort of his pants and his car on the gravel. And then so that's one at least that we agree on, right?
Yeah, 2007, it was his rookie year. Imagine the storylines that you won the championship in your rookie year, but that gravel trap in China, and yes, he just lost the title by 1 point. If he had pitted cleanly in China, probably he would have won that first title in 2007, and we would not be having that debate of whether Schumacher or so at least I also can agree on that part that 2007 was a year where he should have won his first title. That's how I see it.
See, we can cut him some slack because, as you mentioned, it was his rookie year. He was dominating, but we must not discount the fact that he was a rookie. But that being said, he was not leading the championship and on the precipice of winning because he drove like a rookie.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
he created that scenario.
Exactly. His talent on track was impeccable. But it's so sad that he f***ed up the easy part of the race. So, I guess that's the textbook definition of a rookie mistake, right? Because
exactly.
Bro was cracking particle physics, bro was doing calculus, but he can't do 2 + 2. That was the situation of that day.
Yeah, man, it was really sad to watch that part as well.
Right, and then the other championship that he possibly could have won, we'll get to 2021 again later because I think that is another championship on my list of 4. But then another championship he should have won.
I think for 2012, McLaren was the fastest car at that moment, but
Yeah.
it was a fast car but not a reliable car. And they had gearbox failures, pit stop disasters, and as we said, it was not reliable. Because of those moments, he had too many DNFs, and he had an outside chance to be part of that championship battle with Alonso and Vettel as well. That's how I see it, because that car was really good. Shame it was not reliable. So
Yeah, but it is due
I
to that fact that he was not really on in the main conversation and he got sidelined by the end of the season is the reason why we are not counting this year, I suppose. Because there
Yeah,
was no chance, there was no shot at the championship after a certain point.
True. But I think one year that you are probably thinking about is 2016, where we remember that
Right.
Rosberg rivalry.
Right.
Yeah.
Fair. Yeah, that is
And
definitely on the list.
and he was, yes, the start of the season was not great for Hamilton. It was, Rosberg's start, and he drove so well for the first 4 races until that Spain incident that happened and both drivers were out. But after that, Hamilton was in a league of his own, and he was getting those wins on a regular basis until that Malaysian Grand Prix, where his engine literally blew up while leading the race. So that
Exactly.
race alone just swung the title in Rosberg's favor, and Rosberg just needed to finish P2 in almost like last 3-4 races, and Rosberg did that part.
Yeah,
So
so quite
2016
right.
was
2016 was definitely it because of that one reliability issue that cost him another title. So at the very least, we're now up from 7 to 9 championships.
Yeah.
At the very least. Then I
Yeah.
think there was also an intense battle in 2010, right?
Yeah, where I think Vettel, Alonso, Webber, and Hamilton both were fighting hard for the championship.
Yeah, so okay, that's another season that he could have won because it was down to Abu Dhabi. No, not Abu Dhabi. Was it Abu Dhabi?
Yeah,
Yeah,
2010 it was Abu Dhabi. Yeah,
Yeah, and it was a four-way battle in that race. Everyone had set targets for minimum finish basis your championship rivals finish. And of course, the best thing for anyone would have been for any driver would have been to win straight up. But which Vettel did, of course. But yeah, that is another year. I think if it is going down to the wire, it is reminiscent of 2021 in almost in a sense because it went down to the wire, and
yeah.
it could have been anyone, and it's a shame it was not Hamilton. So maybe we don't count this fully, but then still we're at 9.5 championships.
Yeah, I feel 2010 is a good shout out simply because he was leading the championship till Germany, I think, where McLaren was really fast.
Yeah.
Even Button was, I think, P2 at that moment until all the bad races came, and he finished P5, and he was not even fighting for the championship by the last race. So 2010 is a good year to shout out for, but I think Red Bull came up so strong for the final races that even Hamilton had no option but just to surrender that year. So
Right.
he had that outside chance even in Abu Dhabi, but he couldn't win that championship. And probably 2010 was also another year where it could have been that year. So
Yeah. So
Let-
then
we can-
we're right to call it 9.5 championships, right? As of this point.
yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
And
And
then
you
we
have
think-
2021.
Yeah, exactly. So that's another half a point, which means at least 10 championships should have been with Lewis right now. In which case, he would not be arguing with his race engineer at Ferrari as much as he is. Because now it just, if you actually count this in your head, now it feels like Lewis is just extremely frustrated. Like the depression of these events is getting to him.
But he really wants to, end that GOAT debate and get that 8th championship on paper at least. What we are saying is it's just pure on how things could have been, but sadly it didn't. So I don't know, man. Yeah, the points you made and the points we saw based on the facts, it could have been at least 9, if not 10. It could have been 9 for sure.
But then, while we're still on the subject of depression, firstly, flash Fernando Alonso's depressed Ferrari photo. Ritual, traditions. But I'm gonna let you take the lead on this one because he's your favorite driver, and you're quite familiar with depression, being a Fernando Alonso fan.
Well, words are not enough to describe this feeling, but let's just say if anyone thinks that he deserved only 2 championships or even less than 2 championships, I don't think you have watched this sport that often. It's because I feel he deserved at least 2 more titles according to me. And I will throw those facts, okay?
Yeah.
Alonso has been masterclass in extracting performance from mediocre cars, but luck and politics has ruined his trophy cabinet. 2007. Let's start with 2007. My favorite year. He was the another side of that coin who lost that championship by 1 point. He was part of that McLaren team, but everyone knew that McLaren favored Hamilton because maybe British bias, say whatever you want. But Alonso lost that title by 1 point. He was dealing with all the politics that was going on, and there was Spygate as well with McLaren, which is why McLaren was disqualified from the championship.
Not a very prideful year for a McLaren fan. Let's not get into that. We're never talking about that again.
Yeah, fair enough, we won't talk about that. But the point is, when they were just so lost fighting against each other, and they could have used that opportunity to fight as a team, and maybe could have helped Alonso because he was the reigning champion. He was the defending champion at that moment. He won in 2005, he won in 2006, and he came to McLaren to win another championship. He couldn't win that championship and lost by 1 point to Kimi Raikkonen. I think that was heartbreaking, and that was the start of depression years. Because let's move to 2010. Abu Dhabi. He was in that championship fight with Vettel, Weber, and
Hamilton.
outside chance of Hamilton as well. So he was in a good spot. He started P3, I think, in Abu Dhabi 2010. But classic Ferrari strategy. He was trapped behind Petrov and he couldn't overtake him. And I think he finished P7.
Yeah.
So mathematically, he couldn't win the championship. And even after performing so well for the whole season, I don't think he was dominant in any way, but he was way too consistent for Ferrari as well, and gave them that chance that maybe, you can win the championship.
The number of drivers who have suffered at the hands of Ferrari is just it's just sad, man. And Ferrari is never gonna leave F1, but should F1 leave Ferrari? just on account of mental grief.
I don't think there will be any debate on that part. Many fans will also agree to your point as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was another depressing year for Fernando Alonso.
And then 2012.
That was another classic. I mean, that car was nowhere close to fighting for that championship. But Alonso did everything that was possible. The second half was not great by any means because Vettel came back strong in the second half of 2012. But he was fighting Alonso for the last race, and I think he was involved in that incident with Bruno Senna, and he was dead last. Maybe Alonso thought that this is the moment that finally I can win that championship with Ferrari. He started so well. He was P2, P3, made some amazing overtakes. Rain came, brought more chaos, and Vettel got P6 and the position that he needed to win the championship. And even Fernando Alonso, after finishing P2, didn't win the championship. And he finished 3 points behind Vettel. So despite starting the season with a midfield car, got so many wins, pure dominance over Felipe Massa as well, who was his teammate. And let's not forget the 2 DNFs he got in Belgium and Japan, especially Belgium, where he was involved in that incident with Grosjean and Hamilton. And it was a crazy crash where Alonso couldn't do much. So another depressing year.
Yeah, dude, that crash is one of the most insane crashes in F1 ever, because whenever you lose some grip, most drivers we see when they crash, even some sort of bad crashes, they counter steer, and as long as you have steering, you're fine. You can at least try to fight the momentum of the car, right? even though it's not going to do all, but it's better than what would happen if you are just a passenger in the accident. The way Joe Guan Yu crashed at Silverstone, he was just a passenger, and those are some of the most scary moments in F1, man.
Yeah, man. And it's crazy how, safety and all these things have upped their game in this year or this era of Formula 1.
Yeah, but then you're saying Alonso should have, at least as of today, been at an equal tally of championships with Verstappen, 4 each.
Yeah, at least 4, if not 5. I think 4 is a good number, because we said 2007 and 2010 and 2012. Those are 3 years. But I'll say 4 is a good number. Let's keep it that way.
So which year would you eliminate outright if you had to? Basis the thought process that it was a battle, but it was decidedly an advantage for someone else. Probably 2010, right?
Yeah, let's say 2010, because the way Red Bull came back stronger, I felt like they deserved that championship. Maybe Weber, maybe we will talk about that. Maybe Vettel, who won the championship. So yeah, 2010 can be that one.
Okay, so let's move on to Vettel, in fact, because while we're still on the subject, because I feel like his 4 championships, none of them are disputable. I don't think there were situations where he could have won more, at least in my opinion that's the case, and the 4 that he won he fully deserved. 2010, the title race between the 4-way, he won decidedly, like there was never any doubt in that, so that was fully his. 2011, straight up a season long domination. 2012,
Absolutely.
Again he gets full credit, because after being taken out at the beginning of the race, he recovered while his car was damaged, and he recovered well enough to end P6, as you said. And that was the time when there were 24 cars, I believe, on the grid. So coming back from that, no dispute, he deserves that fully. And 2013 again, he did everything.
No one can debate.
Exactly, he did everything right. There was no dispute here. So Vettel is, I think, in our list of drivers, as we, by the end of the list, we'll see there are some that we end up chalking up to luck, but I think Vettel is the only driver on this list who has not got a single point of contention in his championships, because he's just been that clean. It didn't matter if he dominated the season or dominated the race, he did dominate.
Yeah, but I feel there were 2 more moments, or at least one moment, where I feel he could have won one more championship.
Oh, really?
I want to start with 2009.
Interesting.
We know about Braun GP and how they won the championship. But many people don't know. Braun had a very early season advantage where, Vettel had 2 back-to-back DNFs at start. But the moment where his car got, some stability, he finished P1. And I think he finished second in the championships. It was not Barrichello who finished second, who was part of Braun GP. Vettel finished second, and I think he got like 3 or at least 4 DNFs, which is why he didn't win the championship. But I feel he dominated the second half of that season, and he could have won that championship just like how he won in 2010. So that's one debatable part, something maybe others in the comments can tell us how that 2009 season was. But that was one season. Second of all, I feel there was that one title fight that was possible with Ferrari as well. Because in 2017 or 18, let's just say, I think 2018, where Ferrari had a much better car, where maybe they had a very, I'll say, not according to the rules, their front wing was so good that anytime they used DRS, they had a massive pace advantage, which created some doubts whether it was legal or not. Again, it is a debatable part, but Ferrari had a car that could challenge Mercedes at that time, and Vettel was leading the fight at least halfway through the both years. But team errors, some pressure, and his own mistakes as well, I won't deny that, because in Germany 2018, when it started raining, he crashed and he lost the championship fight when Hamilton started from P14 in that race. So I think he finished P2 in 2017 and 18. I felt like many, and not only I, but I feel many fans will say that he deserved one title with Ferrari as well, but sadly, he didn't. So, yes, the 4 titles he won, I think he won on pure dominance and the way he drove. But there was that opportunity where he could have won one more as well. That's how I see it.
Okay.
Maybe 2009.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with 2009 because I don't think I want to chalk up another possibility of championship when you're not fully confident with the legality of your car setup. So,
Yeah.
since we spoke about rules, I think just basis that if there is ambiguity, we should not consider it. At least I don't want to consider it.
Yeah.
2009,
Fair enough.
quite fair because if we considered Hamilton for another championship simply on the basis of a mechanical failure or a DNF, I think Vettel deserves credit for that as well, and therefore 2009 fair enough. Yeah, 5 championships then for Vettel.
Yeah, imagine the scenes.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to one of the F1's unluckiest drivers, Felipe Massa. I mean, we all know 2008 Brazil, where he won the race and lost the championship within 30 seconds. He did everything right in that season. But yeah, that 2008 Crashgate scandal happened where I think that directly influenced the title race, and Massa lost that race due to that pit lane chaos. And we know he lost the championship by just 1 point. And by that last sector, when is that Glock moment happened, and Hamilton was able to overtake Glock. And probably Massa is still searching for Glock at this moment. Because let's face it, he should have won that championship. That's how I see it.
There is
So
definitely one Glock that is going to be involved if Massa ever meets Glock
yeah.
of the 19 flavor.
Yeah, true, man. But I think many of the fans will agree here as well that this was another Ferrari what-if moment, and he should have won in 2008 and probably deserved that one title. And the sad part is, after that year, from 2009, it was not the same story with Massa, because he had a crash in Hungary where a screw hit his eye, and after that he just lost his confidence, and maybe his prime years were over after that crash. So we never saw that true potential of Massa. That's how I see it. So I feel like 2008 could have been that one year where he could have won one championship at least. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I guess that is a fair way to put it because, I mean, you cannot sort of give him a lot of shit about the downfall after that because again, we come back to the topic of horrible crashes, but yeah, that crash where that screw shot at him at Mark was I mean, that of course his confidence was shaken after that. I mean, you can't trust the one thing that you have to use to see where the track is. Of course that's going to shake your faith a little bit,
and that's perfectly fine. But yeah, 2008 was, I think we both can agree that it could have been that one year for Ferrari.